Do you want to just put, let's see, where am I? Okay, do you want to just move?
Here we go.
Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Good afternoon or good noon, I guess. Everyone, I am Sue Pitts with the Small Business Development Center. This is part of our Business Essentials series that we do once a month. Next month is the second Tuesday of December as well, and that's on websites and you know, kind of taking control of your own website and what needs to be on there. Oops. We have automated everything and the phone's ringing. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's next week. The Small Business Development Center is a free resource for small businesses and startups. Today I have with me my new, or not new, this summer new SBDC coordinator, Josh Baker, and he is going to be teaching this class. He has been concentrating on cybersecurity for small businesses since he started, is very knowledgeable, and I'm excited for his teaching debut for cybersecurity. He knows this topic so much better than I do, and I've learned a lot from him, so I'm excited for that. We do use resources from our national organization called America's SBDC Network. That is where all of the SBDCs, we're a national network, so that's our national organization. They, in the last few years, have created an initiative called North Star for cybersecurity. This particular presentation is something that they put together for basic cybersecurity. So this will be the basic course of just what to think about and what to do, and Josh will go through that. If there are people that need a little more advanced, you can see some acronyms, CMMC and NIST on the left-hand side of the screen. Those are different resources that the North Star Initiative uses and complies by. So we can use the North Star Initiative's resources individually with businesses that need to go a little deeper, put them in contact with the people that run the North Star Initiative, and also working with us through that. So if you have deeper needs, please get a hold of me or Josh, and we will use our resources through the American Small Business Development Center. And I'm going to turn it over to Josh, and he's going to go through the basic cybersecurity for your small business. Take me off camera.
All right, perfect. So the primary pieces that we're going to kind of go over today are these five pieces. First, we're going to identify. So you're going to basically take a look at what kind of information do you have as a business that you need to keep safe, keep away from hackers. And the next part is protect, and we're going to kind of go over what that kind of means. So protect both physical and digitally, protecting that that information to make sure that it's safe from hacking and data leaking. We're also going to talk about detecting. So what kind of systems you're going to need to have in place to identify issues and also fix them. And then the last two, both respond and recover. We're going to go a little bit over the recovery part. One thing that I will say is if it gets to the point where you know you have a data breach, you will need to call in some experts in order to deal with that situation. And that's something that you can kind of reach out to us. We can get you some resources, direct you to the people that you would need to talk with to get to that, to fix that issue. But yes, you will definitely want to bring in some extra help at that point if you do have that issue. So, all right, so information. What kind of information does a hacker want to get? Well, you get the basic stuff. You get the credit card information, both your as a business owner and your customers' information. Hackers will also be out there looking for employee identification number, so social security numbers, stuff like that. Also looking for bank login information, both your personal and customers. But some people kind of overlook the accounts of, like, for example, your login for your website information. They would be looking for that. The reason they would look for that is a hacker could go in and basically, if you have a online shop, they can go in, change the link that you have for your credit card processing to direct it to a hacker's website that can look cloned, identical to what you have as a business. And then they're going to be taking that credit card information, they're going to be taking that cash. And the only way you're going to probably find out is once you have customers calling you saying, hey, where's my product? Then you having that, that's how you're going to get that trigger. So they're not only just looking for the basic, obvious login information. There's other information that they can use for nefarious means to get you into trouble. So one thing that you're going to need to also go over when you're looking into your the data that you have is this data that you have saved viable for you to be actually running your business? So for example, if you have inactive customer data information from like 5 years ago that could contain social security numbers, stuff like that. I know in kind of back in the how we've kind of been taught is to keep those files. We got to keep a hold of them for a certain period of time. Things have kind of changed, and you kind of don't want to really necessarily have that information to just be readily available. If it's not standard for you to have to be running your business, in order for you to not kind of be liable for this data to be leaked, I would get rid of it. I'd get it off of your system. So that way, you know that that's not possibility to be leaked. And also, if you're having a whole lot of data that's already on your system anyway, it could even possibly help your system run faster. So just kind of be aware of what data you actually really need to have to be running your business. So when a hacker kind of comes in, they're going to do one of three essential things. Once they have your login information, they have access to your network, they're going to do either one, they're going to download a virus. So basically, it's going to be a program that's going to go in, it's going to either damage or steal information from off of your network or your files. And it's just going to wreak havoc with your system. They will either pull off spyware, which it's more running in the background. So you're not going to really see what's going on, but in the background, this program is going to be basically just sitting there spying, looking for the data that the hacker feels that they could use for a means to get that information. So it's going to be running in the background like key logging. So it's going to be tracking every single website that you're going onto and looking for usernames, passwords. It's going to be just running in that background and you're not going to know it's there. Or they're going to actually download an actual Trojan horse. So for example, on this, it could look like the plain old solitaire game that's on most computers come with. You're going to double click on it. It's going to look like it's solitaire. It's going to play like solitaire. But in the background, there's a program that's running that's pulling information from out of your files, or it's spying on you, keeping track of stuff. It's downloading things and you don't know it's there because it looks just like a regular old program. So these are the three main ways that hackers and stuff are used to get your information off of your system. So how are they going to get your login information, stuff like that? Well, there's the most common threats of ways of they're going to get your information is from phishing, email spoofing, and then ransomware. And I'm going to kind of show a couple of slides here, examples of each. So the first one, phishing. So I have two examples here of essentially emails that somebody's sent out. This first one, it's from PayPal. But if you look from who it's from, it says account support, but it's from a Gmail. So obviously that is a big red flag right there. If you're getting something from PayPal, it's going to say PayPal. So if I was to click on this link and I put in my information, bing, bing, boom, I just gave a hacker all of my information. The second example here, which I know everybody probably has gotten in their lifetime. Oh, my uncle from Zimbabwe died and he had $10 million and I could get that money if I just send over a gift card for Google for $1,000 or whatever. Yes, I know that I've seen those a lot. So this is just another way of getting information from you. And that's just one of the big examples of that. So email spoofing is a little bit more tricky. That's them. They've kind of elevated it a little bit more. So, for example, this one from Apple, it says it's from Apple support, but it's asking for my Apple ID because I've been blocked. Again, if I was to click on this link, it'll probably go to an actual website that looks kind of like Apple, but it's not. And I'm putting in my information and they get my information. Once I put it in there, I give it up. A second example here from Microsoft Outlook. It says it's from serviceoutlook.com. So you think it's from Microsoft, but it's not. So kind of when you, in this process, when you're kind of looking for, when you're seeing these emails and stuff, training your employees to be kind of on the lookout. And if it doesn't seem like it's right, it probably isn't. So a good way is if you're kind of getting information from, or getting an email from like a website that's wanting to get your information, I would not personally click on the link in that email. I would go onto your web and pull up the website that way, and then try to access it to see what they need through that way. That's a safer place because you know it's actually that company's website. So, it's just kind of being aware of what you're really asking for. Even if you get like a random email from, let's say, HR that's like, hey, what's your login password information? And you're like, why would HR be wanting to ask that? I'd actually be physically calling that person, be like, hey, what exactly are you needing? Why are you needing it? Just kind of be aware of what's kind of coming across. So ransomware is another one. Now, this one, it's a full out war when they go out for this. So basically what they're doing is a hacker has your information. They put in a program and essentially it's either going to copy sensitive data or it's going to encrypt your system. And at that point, they're going to give you a call and they're going to say, all right, you want your data back or you want your data unlocked? You're going to need to pay such and such money in so many days. And then I'll send you the decrypt key or I'll get rid of the data information. At that point, you're going to need to call somebody to get some professional help on that point because you do not want to obviously pay that ransom because they're going to do either one of two things. They're going to just take the money and run, and then you'll be stuck with a dead system, or they'll send you a decode key, which will probably just erase all the rest of the information that first program could not get, and you're out of luck at that point. So when you get to the part for ransomware, that is where you are going to need to get some professional help brought in to save your system. And I got a couple of stories from a couple ones that have happened in the last couple of years. This first one was a chemical distributor. They lost 150 gigabytes of data back in May in 2021. They were down for like 2 weeks in this article that I had got this information from. They were down for 2 weeks and they were not able to do anything. So they lost millions just because they were down for these 2 weeks, trying to figure out what they exactly were able to access. Another one was Bridgestone, one of the big tire manufacturers. Back in February of this year, they got hacked, and they were down for a whole week. Some of their factories trying to figure out how to get past this security breach. So yeah, ransomware is kind of a scary thing once that happens. So what are some of the ways that you can kind of prevent this from happening? Well, first one is access control. So basically what you're going to need to do is just take a look and see what kind of information is available out there of my employees or others, who has all access to that, and taking a look back and saying, okay, should they have access to it? Is it important for their job duties to have access to this information? Kind of, for example, just let's say you hired on a new person and you're going to sign them into the system. You're not obviously going to let them just go and look at your books. No, because if it doesn't have any pertaining to their job duties, why would we do that? Same kind of thing here. Just kind of making sure that they only have access to the stuff that they need to do, to use to do their duties, as well as making sure that your systems are able to not be accessed remotely. I know some people have it to where you can like log into a specific program that you have at work when you're not at work. Is that necessary basically for that to be happening? With a lot of small businesses, usually it's not. So that's something that you can kind of turn off on your system as well. So, okay. And also, again, just kind of making sure. So like if you have somebody that's coming in to work on some systems or whatever in your business, just kind of making sure that it's a valid person that's actually doing that work, and just making sure that they're not accessing data that they would necessarily not need to have. Another thing is to also kind of limit the devices that are actually tying into your systems. So for example, I know a lot of people, when they get their router set up, they just pretty much plug it in, give it a password, give it set, ready to go, let it go live. So when you have that system up and going and you were to go ahead and post, let's say in your lobby, hey, I'm going to offer free Wi-Fi for my customers. Well, if you're doing that and your system is actually on that same Wi-Fi, that is opening you up to having a person just basically coming in, quickly logging into your Wi-Fi, and they can actually access your system since it's tied into that same Wi-Fi. So most routers now, when you buy them, they come built in with a main network and a guest network. That is a good thing to actually have, so that you make sure that your company's systems are on one network and guest network is open for your customers and stuff. So there is no way that a person could get access to your main system because they're on the guest network. It's a completely different network and they're not able to access it. So that's a good thing, good way to kind of keep a barrier up for that. And then again, also limiting, making sure your employees are not accessing information that they necessarily don't need for their job duties. Next part is identification and authentication. So I know me here personally at Iowa Western. So when I go in and I log into my email, since it's through Microsoft, every once in a while I get the lovely little warning that it says that I need to use my little authenticator application. So I have to go log in to that in order for me to even get access to my email. So that's multi-factor authentication. So again, it's like where you have to log in from a separate website, either from your phone or they'll text your phone a certain code that you have to enter before you're even able to access that. Again, that's another way to put up an extra barrier to make sure that that person that is trying to access that account is that person, that person's actually that one person. So just making sure that that is another good way to make sure that that person is accessing your information. Another thing to kind of keep in mind with the authentication is your passwords. So the best standard to go by with passwords is it needs to be 12 characters long. So you need to mix up both uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. I don't have this slide in here, but depending on how big your password is, will depend on how quickly it can be hacked. So if you have maybe like a 4 or 5 character password, even if it's got those mix of numbers, letters, whatever, it can take only possibly a day or two to officially be hacked, depending on what program that hacker is using to get information, to hack that information. So the longer of a password and the more intricate of the characters and stuff that you use, it's a lot harder in order for you to hack that system or hack that password. One way to kind of help with that is password managers. For example, LastPass and 1Password. They're good programs. So you only have your one password in order to get into there. But when you log into a website and it asks for a password, that system automatically generates depending on how you have it set up, it can be a 12 to a 32 length password where it's a mixture of both letters, numbers, all those special characters. And obviously a 32 length password is going to be quite hard to hack into. So one thing you got to keep in mind, so you're probably saying, okay, so I get this password manager. What happens if somebody hacks into that password manager? Well, I can tell you, would it be best to have your password, which, for example, I know a lot of people stick their little password on their little screen for their computer. Would it be better there, or would it be better in a program that's encrypted, that's built for protecting passwords? And I would say it'd be much better to have it in that program. So, and also making sure that your employees have unique passwords that they're not sharing from somebody else's, because obviously if you have 2 people with 1 password, one, you don't know who's getting onto what system officially, and 2, that other person could just share it and the blame can be put on the one who owns that account. So you want to make sure that passwords are kind of unique for each person that's accessing your systems. Media protection. So that kind of goes into 2 different things. So you have both your digital media and you have your physical media. So your digital media, which I'm going to go into a little bit more later when we talk about your antivirus and stuff like that, that's going to be your protection for that part. So your physical media, so that's talking about, for example, your computers, your printers, anything like that. That is the stuff that you're going to need to kind of make sure that's locked down as well. So, for example, if you get a new computer and you're wanting to get rid of your old system, you want to make sure that that data is off of that system before anything, it goes anywhere. Same for like if you have even just a printer that you got brand new that you're plugging into your network new, and what are you going to do with your old printer? Where are you just going to go throw it in the trash? Not the best thing to do, because printers can hold on to network information, and a hacker can get technically a hold of that and pull that information out of there. So you want to do like a system reset on that. Going back to like with a regular a computer hard drive or whatever. So when you're getting rid of an old computer system, the best way, which I even personally do, the best way to get rid of a hard drive is to physically destroy it. That means you're going to pull out that tower, open it up, and you're going to physically pull out that hard drive and take good old hammer to it and trash it. That is the best way to make sure that that information is not pulled off of there, because there are ways you can still pull data from a hard drive, even if it has been wiped. You have to be a pretty good hacker to do that, but there is still a possible way. So the best way to safeguard that is to physically destroy that. Physical protection. So physical protection. So let's say you have a server for all of your computer data, and it's in a closet in your business. You kind of have to come back and think, okay, so who should have access to that closet? If you have a unique key that one key that goes through all of your offices or all of your doors in your business, maybe that's not the best thing, because not everybody necessarily needs to have access to your physical server. So maybe uniquely having a specific lock for your server room is the best, to make sure that you're able to monitor who's actually going in and out of that room. Just making sure that that's safeguard. Again, if you have other computers and stuff that you have up that need to be locked behind lock and key, that's a good thing to have. And just, again, you're able to track who is able to access those through knowing who has keys to those doors and stuff. System and communication. So making sure that you're, if you're out and about doing business, let's say from McDonald's, and you're enjoying your Egg McMuffin, and you're just kind of doing your tech stuff while you're enjoying it, and you're accessing their Wi-Fi, just making sure that even if you're out and about kind of doing your business, that you're still got the mindset to make sure that you're making sure that all of your information is secure. So for that example, if you're actually out and about using a free Wi-Fi, a good thing to kind of have in place would be a VPN, or a virtual personal network. So the best way to explain that is you're accessing that free Wi-Fi, and then you're going into your VPN, which essentially is just creating a lovely bubble around you as you're out on the World Wide Web. And it's just kind of isolating so that hackers are not able to see exactly what you're doing. And there's a lot of VPNs and stuff out there that you can use. All of them are pretty much good, but just kind of looking into seeing what kind of best suits you would be the best to look at that. So, but just making sure that you have those boundaries up, even if you're not even in the office and you still are trying to access your information, just to make sure that you are being cyber kind of aware at all times. So system information integrity. So this kind of goes into talking about your antivirus and your malware programs. So for those, you're going to essentially want to make sure that you're going to pick a program that has both antivirus and malware. In the past, you didn't usually see any programs that had those both built in. So you would essentially have to get one program that was your antivirus and a separate program that was your malware. And the problem with that is with dueling opposite programs, they would basically fight each other and think that the other one was your virus, and they would constantly be battling each other, causing your system to essentially crash at one point. So, but most systems have them built together, both built in. But just making sure that if you are separating them, they're from the same company. It's not best not to separate them, just so that you're avoiding that situation of having them basically argue with each other and then crashing your system at that point. So when you have antivirus or malware software, the best way to make sure that the system's working is it's going to do three things. So first, when you download that program, it's going to fully scan your system just to make sure that there are no issues at that point. It's checking to make sure that there's currently no viruses or any spyware that's actually working right then and there. If it is, it's able to stop it and break it at that point in time. And the second part is it goes into a full real-time scan. So it's checking any new downloads or anything that's opened or saved on your system. At that point, it's looking at it. At that point, when it gets open, saved on your system, it's scanning it at that point, and then it is checking to make sure everything's good. If it's not, it's blocking that off. And then you also need to do periodic scans. So for example, you'd want to maybe take and once a week have it do a full system scan at that point, just to make sure that everything is clear. So me personally, when I get a new computer, even like at my personal computers at home, the first thing I install is my antivirus program. And most systems have it to where you can do this, but I have it create what's called a white file. So basically it takes and scans everything that's currently on the computer, and it makes notes of essentially what's all there. And it takes this file and it sets it aside, and it keeps track of it, so that any changes that happen to any of the processors, the kind of the background programs that are running that you don't usually deal with or anything, it's kind of keeping track of that, and it's comparing it to this white file. So if there's something that gets funky and it detects an issue, it'll take that file and it'll put it in a quarantine. And then basically that just puts it in its own little bubble, and the system will ask you, hey, we see that this program's on here. It's not cool. You want to take a look at it? We have it quarantined, and it gives you a chance to actually look at it and verify if you actually did download it, if it is good. Usually if it's sticking it in the quarantine file, it knows it's not good. So it's probably best to go ahead and delete it at that point. So, but doing that first, it's kind of establishing a set point to where the system, the antivirus software is able to go back and reference essentially what it started from, and it's just easier for it to kind of keep track of any changes to the system at that point. Some of the basic antivirus software out there that you could get a hold of, Bitfender, WebRoot, Malware, Norton. All of these are pretty good. Again, when you're going out to look at any antivirus software, kind of do some research, look into make sure that it's going to do what you need it to do. I will say this, there are free stuff out there. They're free ones. The problem with those is once there's a new virus that pops up, or there's some kind of vulnerability that pops up, most of the paid programs, they're on it. They make those changes quite quickly. With a free one, there's not somebody that's on salary that's able to make those changes or send out those updates quite quickly. So you may not see an update for 1-2 weeks, and that virus could possibly get into your system if you're using one of those free programs. So it's best to actually pay for a program for an antivirus program just for that one reason, to make sure that you're up to date at every point. So, and speaking of updates, that is another thing that you need to kind of make sure that you're doing. So, and I know everybody has had it happen to them. You're on your computer and Windows decides, hey, let's do an update. I know you're in the middle of a huge project. Let's go ahead and shut you down for a little while. It sucks, yes, but those need to be done because those are closing certain vulnerabilities that have come up in the system that hackers have found, and those are actually making the system is locking those back up. So you want to make sure you're doing those on a regular basis, even if it kind of is in an inopportune time. The best way I could tell you to, you can go into at least with Windows, and I know Apple does it too. You can go in there and have it set to scan for updates when you're in off hours. So like you can have it do scanning for updates at midnight when nobody's there, and you're able to not have to worry about the system pretty much locking you out because it has to do an update. But if you still do see that an update comes through, it's probably best to go ahead and do it at that point in time, just to make sure that that is done in a timely fashion. With that being said, your computer is not the only thing you necessarily need to update. So you need to think about any machines, any systems that are accessing your network or able to access your information. They need updated too. So, for example, like your printer, it has firmware that needs to be updated sometimes on a monthly basis, whatever. Phone systems that are digital, they have firmware updates as well. Reason why I'm kind of talking about that is a couple of years ago, Target had a huge data breach. The hacker did not get in through a computer system. The hacker actually was able to access their information through their HVAC system because somebody did not update their thermostats to the current firmware systems. That left a vulnerability open, and they were able to pull out data through that thermostat system. So even anything that's able to access your network, you should make sure that has updated firmware. So because hackers love to find any and every way that they can to pull that data information out of your system. So a couple of other things to kind of think about. First of all, if you do have a situation that does come up, that you either have a data breach or you have some viruses that are going on, you need to maybe look into having somebody come in and look at your system, especially if it is a data breach. There are certain things that need to be followed. For example, at least in Iowa, if you have 500 or more possible people that had their data leaked, you actually have to get in contact with the state attorney and have to send a report to them just so that they are aware. And there's a certain steps that need to be taken if you are to have a data breach. And again, you do want to bring in an expert to kind of walk you through that process. Other things that people overlook, thumb drives, you want to make sure if those are getting kind of overused or whatever, that you're making sure you're doing a full system wipe off of that. Even your simple pieces of paper that possibly have your login information written down, you want to make sure you're shredding them, getting rid of them, so that nobody can try and pull that information off of there. So I'm sure one of these things you're probably thinking right now, oh, I don't have the time to do this, or oh, I'm a small person, nobody's really going to want my data, or it won't cost much to fix if I get a virus, or the employees that I have are young, they all know this techie stuff. I don't have to worry about them. It's not a best way to be thinking. The way you got to think is you're protecting your business. It's your reputation that you're also protecting too. So you want to make sure that you're keeping all of your data as secure as possible, because if in the event you do have a data leak and you have to go out and do a press release saying, hey, I just had 5,000 people that had their data leaked, that's not very good. Falling back to Target, when they had their data leak, Target lost a lot of business because they lost some trust from customers, and it took time for them to build that back. So making sure that you're putting in these steps to prevent that from happening is best, instead of thinking that you're going to have to go back and try and build that trust back up. So just being proactive is the best bet to make sure that you are keeping this data safe. If there's any other resources that you want to get from us, from the SBDC, you can reach out to us. We can kind of, if you're looking for, hey, I kind of want more of a personalized program. Yeah, if you have any questions for us, yeah, you can talk with us. We can get you in touch with those resources. We can kind of pull that information for you and get you what you need to set you up for success. So
Do you want to just turn off the screen share and see if there's any comments or questions?
That's pretty much my program. So I'm gonna pop this off. If anybody has any questions
Comments or questions
or any comments.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the crash course of cyber safety. So
okay, I'm going to add just a few. Yeah, there we go. Just a few comments. I forgot to mention, we partner with the Business Essentials with Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Christine Plunkett, she was unable to come today, but I wanted to plug their services and their revolving loan fund, and we work together a ton. So they have some revolving loan fund capital mechanisms to help small businesses in a way that we haven't been able to do in Potawatomi County. So it's a great program. And if you have questions or need to get in contact with Christine, just give me a call, or Josh a call, and we'll get you in touch. So thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you next time for taking control of your website on second Tuesday of December. Have a great day.